Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful earthlings, greetings. You see Marcus and Nico down at the bottom of the screen, and we have our very special guest, Nickolas Wildstar, is in the building.
He's on mute.
I see the beautiful Recall Newsom in the background there. Let me real quick before we completely dive right in with the interview here. Remind everybody, if you haven't already, hit the like button. We don't care if you have not watched this video yet because it's live. Like it anyway. And subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the share button. Share. Remember, 2 shares to speed the spread of this podcast. And go to our Patreon. We love our patrons. Love all of y'all. Marcus, you still owe me a list of all our patrons so I can read it live on air. Send it to me during the show, and I'll do it at the end. And go check out the merch store too. All the links are in the description. You will see that below. But without further ado, let us welcome our very special guest while he lights one up. Nickolas Wildstar, welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here and meet the both of you. Definitely. I know Marcus all too well, but I'm happy to be here with you all.
Excellent. Yeah, likewise. This is gonna be cool. So I will let Marcus kind of lead things because I know he set this up, and so Marcus, take it away, man.
I've known Nickolas for a little while, and we've kind of crossed in a bunch of different circles a lot. For those of you that don't know his body of work, he's done a lot. He's been involved with libertarian politics, GOP politics. He's been involved with the Cal Exit movement. He is, I would consider him friends with my friend Adam Kokesh. That's generally where I first met him. And
that's how I found out about him too.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I've conversed with him over the last couple of years for appearances on Adam versus the Man, those kinds of things. And he's an interesting person. And one of the things that he is particularly interesting to me about is that he keeps himself very libertarian while also not necessarily working within the Libertarian Party. And I personally like that because fuck the Libertarian Party.
You do too.
right.
So,
I think I'm the only one left. I'm the only one still trying to fight the good fight in the party. But no, it's all good. Yeah, I appreciate that too.
So anything that I missed, I know that you've done some stuff before you got into politics, Nickolas. But I know that you've done some rap, you've done some other stuff. Why don't you take it from there? I've given like a basic idea. Tell us about you.
We need 8 bars at least.
Right?
No, just go ahead.
Well, I am again Nickolas Wildstar, raptivist, politician, and of course public representative, since that's what I'm seeking to be, And Marcus is right. I actually am a longtime musician. I moved to California from Wisconsin to pursue a career in music, and was quite successful on it on the underground level, is what they call it. I have music in movies like Scary Movie 4. I have music on Amazon, Spotify, all that good stuff. And I'm still doing music now, but more so am focusing on using it as a tool to help get the information out there about political change and cultural issues, social issues, etc. So I saw this kind of change happening within myself as an individual around my mid-20s or so, and just being more aware about the world around me, the government, and its instrumental role in my day-to-day life as a hardworking person out here, providing for myself, since I did move 3,000 miles away from a place I consider to be home to establish a new home on my own as a teenager. So I was very independent-minded, am still independent-minded, and will always be. And being here in California, I got to see a little bit of California politics firsthand in the recall effort to get Gray Davis out of Austin back in 2000.
A while back, yeah.
So when that happened, I was helping other people that I knew collect signatures to recall Gray Davis. And unfortunately, we ended up with Schwarzenegger. But here we are again in 2012 or 2021 now. Shit.
Reversing that.
Yeah. So if we get him out, then we would have been successful in recalling 2 governors in the history of California, and that's what we want. I've been actually instrumental in collecting signatures to get him out of office as well over the past few months, and am continuing to do so now as a candidate running to replace him as governor. So a little bit about my political history. I was a long time Occupy Wall Street protester. Well, not in Wall Street, since I'm out here in California. Occupy LA, Occupy Orange County, San Diego, Occupy Sacramento, all these different Occupy protests throughout the state that I've been involved in, and anonymous protests as well. And that kind of led me to learn more about Dr. Ron Paul, who I didn't know ran for president against Barack Obama, or else I would have voted for him. But with me being a Democrat, straight out of high school and always voting Democrat, he was the first person that I ever voted for as a Republican. So I had here in California, you have to register for that political party in order to have an opportunity to support a candidate in that party. So in the primary, when he was running for president, I had to register Republican, first time ever, and again voted Republican then. But I consider myself more so a liberty movement activist, since the main message behind Occupy was about freedom, limiting government's size and scope and influence, and of course expanding our freedoms as individuals. So it's sad that the message kind of got lost in translation throughout the years.
Same with the Tea Party.
Exactly. But to me, it's always been about that. And I was supportive of the Tea Party too, until the money, came into play. What happens with every, revolution is it gets astroturf. Some influx of money comes in, and it changes the influence, it changes the course and the agenda. And I wanted to stay on task with that. So I started to focus on running as a candidate myself, basically put my money where my mouth is, since all of us talk about the problems that politics cause. Why not do something about it,
Right.
Instead of talking about community violence and homelessness and drug use and whatever else, I wanted to be the person that had a role in changing those policies. So I ran for governor in 2014. I was an independent candidate. A write-in candidate, got about 12 votes. I ran again in 2018 and was endorsed by the Libertarian Party, and won their nomination as an endorsed candidate and got almost 12,000 votes. So I'm running again, as I said, in this special election to recall Gavin Newsom. Only this time I'm running as a Republican, like Ron Paul did in his 2012 campaign. So I'm hoping to bring the message of liberty and maximize freedom and minimize government to a larger stage by running as a Republican.
Well, we have a California resident in the building. Rita is in here. She says,
I saw that.
California in the house. Yeah, so she's looking. Trust me, she is no fan of the current governor. So she's looking for an answer. So yeah,
is California for you guys to recall 2 governors?
I know, right? Yeah, and that's within the 20 years that I've been here in California. Right. So in its entire electoral history in the state, 2 governors, 2 Democratic governors, again, in a state that's considered to be ultra Democrat, ultra left leaning, and more so embracing of a lot of socialist progressive policies. And here we are again in this boat where we're not happy with it. The people of California, and it's not just the people on the right, like Newsom is going around saying on the news, that it's just Proud Boys and Trump supporters and, you know, I guess alt-right supporters, but that's not true at all. I mean, I'm the
you
first.
do have the haircut for all right. Just saying.
So we were talking about that. Yeah, I put your Twitter handle up there on the screen, the real cue ball. So, you know, it's like you're now you're living up to the name. You know, it's
right.
funny. But we were talking about that before we came on the air. Like I hardly recognize you when Marcus put the picture up for the thumbnail. I was like, who the fuck is that? That's not. I'm used to the dreads and everything. And I asked you. I said, what's the matter? You think the white people in California are scared of a black man in dreads? And what did you say? You said,
I said more black people, believe it or not, are afraid of the black man with dreads than the white people. Believe it or not, when I was running
for sure
for office, more people told me that I should cut my hair and clean up my look to appeal to the masses, and they were black people, believe it or not. The majority of them were black people. I had a few anonymous emails, and based on the tone, I could tell that they were, you know, not black people, but face to face, you know, when I've been going door to door introducing myself to people, they'd look me up and down and say, "You're running for office," you know, and of course, I would get judged that way. But yeah, it's sad that it boils down to a matter of perception and image.
Right.
For you to be taken seriously as a candidate. You know, your name could be on the ballot. You could have paid thousands of dollars to market yourself, but you know, if you don't look a certain way, then people won't take you seriously. So,
right.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, and one of the things, you know, they've tried to get me to run for shit several times. I tried to run for coroner, and my hippie ass be out there, and because I do have a degree in funeral service, but I'm not changing shit. They can kiss my ass, and that's why I'm never going to win.
Marcus just said he endorses the establishment. I'm just saying, he said he's not changing shit. You know,
So I get all that, and that makes quite a bit of sense, you know, having to kind of, you know, because like, for instance, Adam wears what he calls his politician suit. I get that. I understand that you do have to appeal to grandma who's used to seeing the same thing over and over and over again. I get it. What made you decide to run in the GOP?
As I said, being able to bring the libertarian message to more people. The one thing that I did come to find with me running as a libertarian candidate in the last election was I was just completely ignored by mainstream media and most voters. Just speaking to them, they would love the things that I was talking about and all of the changes that I was proposing to make for the state. And then they would ask me, well, are you running as a Republican or a Democrat? And I say, libertarian. Oh, man, you're not going to win, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Automatically write you off as a lost cause simply because you're running as a third party candidate. Not only the average voter, but the media. You need them as an outlet to help reach the masses. So when it came to you know, polling and just news articles in general about the candidates that were running, I was barely mentioned. You know, it was either just by name or not at all.
Sure. And the thing is, I get that, and I'm not, like I said, fuck the LP, because they flat out, you know, one of the things that you're going to face in any particular situation with the LP is you're going to have the LP attacking you because you know, maybe you didn't quote Rothbard right, or maybe you thought Milton Friedman was cool, or something.
Maybe you made the mistake of quoting Rothbard, and they're like, and then the anti-Rothbard libertarians come after you,
right?
So libertarian, like I am,
right.
Yeah, us too, and so I get it. and frankly, I have a friend that's considering here in Indiana running for Congress here in a couple of years, and we were discussing stuff. I said the first thing you need to do is make sure nobody knows you know me. We'll start there. The second thing you need to do, because in Indiana he'd be fucked if they found out that he's got a really good friend that's an anarchist. But on top of that, I said, don't run in the LP. That's suicide. Don't do that. If you actually want to win, if that's what you want to do, then run in the GOP and just, try to pull the GOP with you. I don't necessarily think that it's effective because I don't think electoral politics is going to largely change anything. Exactly. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you can push forward a narrative like it seems like you're doing to an audience, get that audience as big as possible, and you don't get a bigger audience than the GOP, even in California. So I wanted to clarify.
Politics and the many voters, many people that I've spoke with care more so about just the person sticking true to what they say more than anything. It doesn't matter what your political party is. That's more so what they're looking for more than anything right now. But just competition wise, of course, it boils down to that dualistic mindset that people are in, where they must choose for either team red or team blue to feel like they are, aren't wasting their vote. So it's sad that people have that mindset, but I think I can shift that again through discussion of policy, which I talk about these things: cutting taxes and making California a constitutional carry state, decriminalizing all substances, making California energy independent, where we have our own, utility company where it's free service being provided to the people of California. And a lot of people love these ideas and are very supportive of them. And when I tell them that I'm running as a Republican, they're even enthusiastic now about, even more enthusiastic now about supporting me. But the one thing about the Libertarian Party itself is it's sort of failed as a vehicle out here for political change, simply because the people of the community are wanting to have that opportunity, are looking for that organization, that outlet, but are not finding that. And the Republican Party pretty much is non-existent here. I mean, we have a Democratic controlled state. It's a Democratic majority across the board, just even with registered voters. So the Republicans pretty much gave up on the state. So I'm not running as a Republican or registered Republican candidate or a GOP member. I'm running as a registered Republican promoting a Libertarian Party platform.
Nice.
Question. Okay. Why do they make you register under like Republican or Democratic? Because in Illinois, I don't have to do that shit.
It's California. It's just California, and it's a way to discriminate voters,
Okay,
and, so in the primary, for instance, in the presidential primary, if there is a partisan president in office, whether it's Republican or Democrat, in the primary, in order for you to vote for an opposing candidate, you have to register for that party. Because, like with Ron Paul, because you already had Obama in office, all of the candidates running for president were just Republican candidates, And so in order for you to participate in that primary, you would have to register Republican until the general election in November. So it's a way, again, to limit the amount of participants in the primary, as well as, again, limit the opportunity for more people that would vote for a Republican candidate to do so. Because a lot of people, they think they're a Republican or a Democrat or even a Libertarian. That's just your voter registration. You're just a registered voter for that party. You're not a party member. And those are the ones really making the calls behind the scenes.
Would you be able to like register under 2 parties, or is it strictly like, no, you're a nigga, so you got to stay in
Exactly, pretty much, yeah. You know, I was a Democrat before I had to clarify and say, no, I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'm going to be what I want. You know?
Shout out to Libre TV for when we get canceled on YouTube. We'll only have the one home. We're streaming live, simulcasting on YouTube and on Libre TV for when they come after Nico for that comment. But no, I'm just fucking with you, man. It's all good. We say all kind of shit on here that's liable to get us kicked off at any moment. But it's all good because we got the free platform Libre TV holding us down too, so it's all good.
I do my best to be politically correct as much as possible. Hey, I
then we will have to stomp on you.
Yeah.
Right.
So do we want to ask Rita's question so you can have an answer? Get a chance to answer that. Oh, shit.
Okay, so Rita said,
sorry, Chad.
It's all good.
Do I think voters are swinging to the center right to the nomination? Or let's see. All right, so with John Cox winning in 2018, that was really an anomaly because he wasn't expected to actually win the nomination. Nobody thought he would. Mm-hmm. But that's money in politics and power and the influence that they have, you know, and pulling the strings and making sure that they're selected, not elected. So John Cox was really just a rhino propped up by the establishment. So the GOP can feel like they've done their best to present a candidate that can compete against Gavin Newsom, but he wasn't. He was expected to lose, and he's expected to lose again were he to, you know, I guess be propped up again by the Republican Party. He's already declared himself as a candidate and said he's going to be running in the 2022 election. Who knows if that's going to actually happen with the recall election, because he'll have to spend money twice. And that's the one thing candidates don't want to do, is spend a lot of money and lose. And he's a perfect example of that with the Republican Party, is that, you know, I don't know how much money he spent, but I think in the last gubernatorial election, it was over $200 million spent between the Republicans and Democrats. And I would say maybe half of that is expected to be spent in this special election that we're going to be having before the end of the year. But California still has a scheduled gubernatorial election next year. So if I was being strategic and John, you know, as John Cox, and wanted to make sure I'm making my money count, I would just focus on 2022, you know, because you're only, even if he does get elected, he's only going to be in office for a year or two before, you know, it's a possibility he'll get reelected. So that's why whoever wins to replace Newsom, it's extremely imperative that they show and prove if they want to keep that seat in 2022. If they don't, then they definitely will lose, hands down.
Yeah, and speaking of the possibility, and I realize that the likelihood that you're going to win in the special election is low. I get that. If you were to win, what issues are most important to you? Where do you start? What do you do?
First thing is the economy. That's the one thing that's affecting everybody in the state, large and small. Is the lockdowns being imposed on them by this tyrannical governor, you know? So I would immediately lift the lockdowns, let businesses get back to normal as they did before this whole pandemic panic, and leave the choice up to them on if they want to have people wear masks indoors or not. You know, they shouldn't be forced to do so. It's like, well, what's happening in Texas? Even though the governor lifted the mandate, you know, you still have businesses that are imposing that mask requirement on customers. So now it's a matter of a legality issue, you know, and those businesses most likely will be sued because of that. And we want to make sure that the people of California, that their constitutional rights, their natural rights, their human rights as individuals are protected and respected. That's exactly what I'll be doing as governor. and upholding that constitutional oath, which does not authorize any governor to be telling people they need to stay indoors or wear a mask, or businesses that they need to shut down. So no unconstitutional actions from Governor Wildstar. I'll also get to work immediately on criminal justice reform and removing qualified immunity for officers, judicial immunity for judges. A lot of people don't know this, but judges, believe it or not, have immunity. So if they act outside of their oath or abuse their power under the color of law, they can't be removed as a judge, and they're appointed a justice for life. So they can't be removed even through election. They got to be removed through, some type of, impeachment process. So I want to remove those extra layers of protection to, again, prevent police officers from posing a threat against anyone in the community, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever the case may be. We hire them to protect us. We shouldn't be in fear for our lives because of that. So qualified immunity, requiring for all law enforcement officers to have liability insurance. That way, if there happens to be an accident and it leads to a personal injury, they're paying for that out of their own pocket. It's not coming out of taxpayers' pockets anymore. And of course, also address the homeless issue, which is swelling out of control. And with many people right now facing possible evictions or loss of their own home through foreclosures, we want to make sure that they're protected as well. We don't want the homeless population to be even worse than it already is, which is the number one in the entire nation. So I'll be getting to work on building homes, 3D printed homes. These 3D printed home communities actually are being built right now in California through Rancho Mirage. They're building a community, spending, I think, $100 million or something like that to build commercial properties. But these would be public housing, one bedroom, one bathroom units, built less than 24 hours, cost less than $5,000, and they're self-sustainable. So it's like a one and done type of deal. So my goal as governor is to provide permanent solutions to our current economic problems that'll hopefully, again, outlast me if I were to be, replaced in 2022, and get the people of California back on the right track.
So I have to do this because this person paid to say this. So thank you to Juanita for the $10
super
chat. Yeah. So she says, I can't put this one on the screen because it's in a different chat from this. It's on our Libre chat. So she says, I have to read this. Gavin Newsom is a great governor, and he has created some great policies for California. Hashtag wear a mask. Hashtag masks save lives. Hashtag get the shot. Wait. And then she says, lockdown save lives. Then she says, will you confiscate AR-15s because assault rifles kill people? And will you open the borders so that immigrants can have a fair shot at life? So anyway, I'll just let you, and then we'll get into our questions from our YouTube audience too. But anyway,
Libre, like
I think we have an emperor over there in the Libre chat. But anyway, so do you have any answers to those questions, Mr. Wildstar?
The one thing about Newsom is he has done a lot of great things for California, and those policies I certainly will be keeping in place. It's what he's done wrong for California that I think definitely needs to be reversed. For instance, AB 5. It's a bill that he passed into law before these lockdowns that actually prevent people from working as independent contractors. So when we talk about joblessness in the state, that's a big contributor, is people not being able to work for themselves. And we had lobbyists for Uber and Lyft pressure us into passing Prop 22, which basically gave rideshare drivers a loophole so they could continue working as independent contractors. But everybody else is screwed. I mean, right now it's tax season. If you're an accountant, you can't work for yourself. You got to go work for H&R Block or another accounting firm. You know, if you're a roofing contractor, what's that?
I said killing competition.
Exactly. Kills competition.
Yeah, I was going to say the rideshare stuff. I bet you it's not some little independent mom and top rideshare company that's paid. That this is for, so that Uber and Lyft and whoever, you know, DoorDash and whoever else can still Uber Eats, and everybody can make their money off the backs of the people they pay like $6 a day to drive around in a car.
Exactly. But that's the thing, is when it comes to government dictating wages, they shouldn't be in that business at all. So I'll actually be repealing minimum wage laws in the state. And yeah, I mean, because I've spoken to a few homeless people and they said, I would love to work, you know, but
minimum wage is racist.
And it is extremely racist, and a lot of people are unaware of its racist roots and origins also. But just cut the fat, I'll be cutting that. And I plan on making California a constitutional carry state. To me, a well-armed citizenry is one that is definitely one that is more protected, more safe, and more in a position to make sure that they're not being threatened, you know. And if you're a homeowner and you want to make sure that if someone breaks onto your property and comes into your home and poses a threat, that you're able to protect yourself. In California, we have laws to where you cannot buy rubber bullets because it's a liability issue. You cannot maim someone. So if you have an intruder in your home, you must shoot to kill. That should not be lawful in the state.
Oh, wow.
That's sick.
Right, exactly. It's extremely sick. So a lot of people, while they think that we should be taking away guns from lawful citizens, law-abiding citizens, that would be absurd. The best thing to do is to make sure that anyone and everyone has the ability to protect themselves, and government isn't dictating that in any way, shape, or form. And I also plan on making California more open to immigration. I personally think that, of course, just looking at its origins and immigration policy, that it's racist. And I don't want to perpetuate that as governor. If anything, I want to make sure that California is not being discriminatory in any way, shape, or form to anyone, no matter if they were born here or not. So I will be making sure that the immigration process is easier, that it's cheaper, and since it's not mandatory, make it incentivized for people that are here from another country to want to become a citizen, you know, so they can reap the benefits of that. But also at the same time, change these social welfare programs that are a big attractor, and add a sunset clause to let people know that after 1 year, 3 years of you receiving, you know, government assistance, that after that point, you're on your own and have to provide for yourself. And that not only would be applicable to immigrants, that would be applicable to anyone receiving benefits.
Rita is really going in on these questions here, so I'm just gonna rattle it off. Hey, look, she lives there. She wants answers.
Got a voter coming, buddy.
Like, you want answers? Are you ready for the truth, Rita?
Hotep Daryl says, what's possible to be done about the 14% state income tax?
Yeah.
Cut it completely. I will be suspending it.
There we go. So there's that answer, Daryl. You heard it. All right. So let me go. Let's try to find the top for Rita. So she says, where was it? Oh, what about housing? How can young people purchase a property to start a family? Because homelessness is terrible here. She's in Northern California, and she says AB5 is hideous. I don't know what.
That was that law I said that prevents.
Okay, that's the okay.
The contractor. Yeah.
I was like, Antonio Brown doesn't wear number 5. What are you talking about? No, anyway. So what about the because that is a big deal. Like, when we're in this cycle of like debt and wage slavery through the Fed and through inflationary policy, and then the taxation and all these big entitlement programs and everything that we end up having to kick down the road, and kids end up paying for multiple times over. Right. The prospect of like owning land and owning something and really owning it is getting farther and farther, in the distance for a lot of people, because even if you buy something, you're still renting it with property taxes, and property right. taxes are through the roof in so many places. And so you have that, and then you have people like leaving the state and going to, like Texas and Arizona and other places to get away from California. What's the answer there?
Cutting those property taxes that are scaring people away, and going to other states where it's more economical for them based on their income. And that's the hardest part for the people here right now, is that their income has been affected by these lockdowns. So you want to make sure that they're receiving as much financial reprieve as much as possible. So suspending those property taxes, since they've still been collected this entire time. They actually went up last summer, believe it or not. Gavin Newsom decided to raise property taxes at a time when people need to be putting money in their pockets the most. Mm-hmm. So I'll again be cutting that. You shouldn't have to pay property taxes on your own property. It's yours. You bought it, you paid for it. You shouldn't have to continue to pay taxes on that, period. Mm-hmm. But one other thing I plan on doing to make California more attractive to home builders, is alleviate a lot of the government red tape preventing them from building homes. There are many zoning laws and regulatory practices and permit fees, license fees that, these developers have to pay before they can even start building. And I mean, if it's costing them tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars just to break ground, then of course that's not going to want to, encourage them to want to build in California. So eliminate some of those fees, eliminate the regulation, give them the green light that they need to start building. And that'll hopefully cure or at least eliminate somewhat the amount of unaffordable housing that we have here in the state as well. If people have more homes available to them, that'll bring down some of those costs. And especially in some of the larger populated areas where they could use more affordable homes. Because when you talk about affordable housing, you're more so just talking about renters, the home buyers out there. The housing market in California already is unfriendly towards, home buyers, unless you have a lot of money. So right. We want to reduce those costs to allow those new home buyers to now have that opportunity here in the state. And another thing that I think that would help in that is by, opening up some of these federal lands to development. Some of the native indigenous tribes that are here and indigenous people, let them have access to that land first to start building on. So what's that?
I was just agreeing. No, I totally agree. You barely hear like good forms of reparation to like the people that have been like expedited from their areas, if that's right. The proper word. You feel me? So no, keep going.
Yes, and that's what I want to do, is make sure a lot of the land here in California is returned back to the indigenous people of this land. And of course, open up an avenue for those disadvantaged people as well. And that's why I'm also proposing through my Gold New Deal to create a People's Bank of California, so we can actually use the People's Bank as a way for small investors to have access to loans that some of these big banks, refuse them altogether. that'll not only be for them to buy a home, but to also start a business as well. So this People's Bank of California will also be doing transactions in all commerce. So that will not only be Federal Reserve notes, but that would also include cryptocurrency and precious metals. We also would be doing banking for cannabis businesses and other drug businesses, since I do plan on decriminalizing. And right now, since that is, I guess, a violation of federal policy for them to do any banking, we're going to have our own bank here in California.
Like credit union style model?
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
And it'll be
sounds like to me. Yeah, it sounds like to me you're what you're largely doing is just deregulating the shit out of stuff, and I think that yeah, which is good, because that means less. When
stuff
people
needs a
don't
lot less shit
understand
in it, I know that much.
Right, for sure.
We should deregulate all the shit out of everything.
Right, and. But most people don't understand that when you say regulation, what that means is the government's in charge of it. It isn't that some angel is up on top of something regulating it, making sure that only the good people get guns and only the good people have this. And it is simply only the government has control. And one of the things that you mentioned about homelessness, the deregulation on that, I think, could have a massive impact. One thing that I'm trying to think of who said it, but someone said that in Mexico, they don't have a major in the countryside. They don't have a major homelessness problem.
Yeah, Dan Behrman. You just go put your shit up in the woods, and like nobody fucks with you.
Yeah, and the argument against that is, but they might have a house that is not to code on their electric. Okay, so a cardboard box is better.
Code.
So
right.
So hey, look, those park benches have to be up to code, and the sidewalks and everything. I've been to San Francisco. I've walked around where you turn the wrong corner, and it's nothing but homeless people, and it's like all up to code. I promise.
Yeah, like Marcus pointed out, would they rather people be living in a cardboard box or some of these tents? Tent cities that definitely look more hazardous than I guess a shipping container. I've read a few stories where there were shipping containers that were retrofitted to be like tiny homes, and the government stopped development of this and stopped them from being provided to people of the community because they weren't approved. So that's another way that government gets in the way of innovation and stopping people of the community from actually getting involved and helping, solve these problems themselves, is by saying, well, we didn't give you permission to. I spoke with the contractor who does, I guess, asphalt, paving and all of that stuff. And he said, man, I would love to fix the potholes right outside of my house. But guess what? If I do, I'm going to get fined by the city for doing so. So
that's crazy.
Exactly. Very crazy. Especially when, again, you have people in the community that have the ability, they have the resources, they have the desire to want to fill that void, but yet again are being blockaded by government officials. So my goal as governor is to do what Marcus said, remove all of the regulatory practices that have prevented all of these issues from actually having more options available to, reduce them altogether.
Mm-hmm. Other question. So you help homeless people with like their shelter and whatnot, but what about like reform and getting them back into like society? Is there any other plans for that?
Absolutely. I think that's where a lot of these organizations, longtime organizations that are more outfitted and more knowledgeable, have more experience
Churches.
about exactly churches, to get involved. Give them the money to deal with the situation and provide the services, wraparound services that they've always had. It's a shame that I'll speak with, representatives from private organizations, and they're better funded. They're operating at a better capacity and are running more efficiently than some of the public service programs. So what's the problem there? The problem there is that the public service, organizations, they're getting the money regardless of if they drop the ball or not. That needs to be acceptable, to where, again, we're focusing on them receiving that money based on, based on productivity and results. So the same thing could be done with everything when it comes to police officers or teachers, that their pay should be based on their performance, based on, instead of them receiving a fixed income and not having to show or prove to earn that money.
Nice. I want to kind of take kind of a little bit of a left path for a moment. And Chad, soon I want to get him into the indoctrination chamber.
Well, wait, before you take a left path, let me read, since we're going to the left, let me read this.
Sure.
Super chat.
I have to. They paid $12 for me to read this.
Look,
I just want everybody to know, if you pay us, I'm going to read your chat. I'm going to read your chat no matter what you say. This thing says, I'm not reading the other ones. I'm not going to read the other ones. Yeah. So Chester says, for $12, is Wildstar his real name? All the black people I know have last names like Jones, Jenkins, and Williams, and that is not racist. He said, and that is not racist because I voted for Joe Biden and I support Black Lives Matter. What will he do to hashtag Stop Asian Hate? So,
well, first
anyway.
things first, to whoever just said that, don't say, I'm not racist because ... That is automatically.
I think what we have is we are being
racist, to some degree.
We have risen to the level. We are so popular that we have people who now pay to troll us with these questions. So I'm happy. I will take it.
Is you mad?
I don't care. No, it's drifting season 24/7, 365. So let's go.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so Marcus, go ahead. I asked the question. You don't have to answer. Go ahead, Marcus.
Well, yes.
So I want.
WIldstar is my real name. My father gave it to me. You would think that's how it would work in this country,
Right.
You not only have the black people that have their slave given names, but you actually have the black people that said, I'm going to create my own identity, just like you had some white people here, European Americans, do the same damn thing. So
you inspired me.
All right. So that's what we're doing here is with Nickolas Wildstar, a new family tree for the black ancestors in my lineage.
I still think he's got a black friend, though. I really do. I think that our buddy that paid us $12, he's got a black friend. I promise. I promise. Oh, my sister's cousin married a black guy. I'm certain of it.
I'm not a racist because
right, I'm not a racist.
Right.
So
partially, though, not fully.
Right, just a little, just tiny little bit. No, where I wanted to take it kind of briefly before we bring you into the chamber is I know that like myself, you support Marcus Ruiz Evans and his effort to separate divorce from the United States and California. What brought you to kind of align yourself with CalExit?
Well, I actually learned about CalExit, I think the last few years of the Obama administration. I heard about it and the CalExit movement, and it piqued my interest because when you talk about federal policies and the harm that it does to the people of California, I mean, you can look no further than its drug policy, which in California before we passed a law to recreationalize marijuana. We had a medicinal marijuana market, and that conflicted with federal regulation. So there were tons of pot shops that would get raided. Patients would get arrested and fined for simply buying medication. So it was a practice that was getting out of control. And you had a lot of governors, sit back and allow that to happen. I'm going to be hardlining that to where if you enter the state of California and attempt to enforce a law, an unjust federal law, you're going to be arrested because you're in our territory now, and the laws are different here. Therefore, you have no jurisdiction. That's the way that it should have been, and that's the way it will be with me as governor. Excuse me, but it's crazy that, again, with the shift in regulatory practices, we see the shift in mindset as well. So with what's happening right now with the federal government, you have many people in California that are looking at their actions. Biden's now proposal to restrict, assault rifles and AR-15s, other guns, impose this block on guns, this nationwide ban that's going to affect the people of California, law-abiding citizens. Again, not only with guns or weed or sexual preference, or whatever sexual. I was corrected on that recently. I apologize to the LGBT community. It is not a preference, but it's sad that, again,
I prefer not to take dick. But if I was alone for years,
where did that come from, bro?
I might, because it's a preference.
Bro,
It's a preference.
Oh, anyway,
you guys are crazy.
anyway, man, god damn. Oh.
But yeah,
so I want to ask you though about, because you were touching on this, and so like how ignorant do you think people are about like the concept of nullification? Like what you were talking about, like about California being able to say, no, get the fuck out. Yeah. And that concept of nullification, but then also like there's this clever trick, and they do it with people all the time. They're doing it now with this, where this shot is your pass to get on a plane, to go see grandma and grandpa, to go to a concert, to go to a football game again, or whatever the case may be, to go back to the mall. What the federal government has done too to make nullification a little more tricky is, well, now if you don't abide by this law, well, then you don't get this federal funding for this program. Right. You don't get this, you don't get that. So they've made a very, very cozy relationship with the state legislatures and the governors to make it to where so much of this stuff is so entangled now that even if you try to nullify, there's a consequence on the other end of that, and you have to really get that buy-in for people to say, yeah, you know what, I'm cool, cut me off. Exactly. I don't want to live here anymore. It's like an 18-year-old trying to bust out of the house or whatever, and it's like, okay, right, cool, but I'm not paying your car insurance anymore. Exactly. And I'm not paying, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. And it's like,
that's where you turn around and you tell them, you know what? I don't need your money.
I don't need you anymore. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I mean, California is the 5th largest economy in the world. So outside of the United States of America being a, global economic power, California on its own is exactly that. It provides, over half of the nation's fruit and vegetables. It's a worldwide leader in the tech industry, in the fintech industry, and the entertainment industry, and manufacturing. I mean, we'll be okay. So if the federal government wants to cut us off from funding, that's perfectly fine, because as governor, I don't expect on taking any federal funds anyway. If anything, I plan on limiting the amount of money that California is sending to the federal government to continue to prop up its social welfare programs. So we're going to be chopping that off, chopping that relationship off, keeping that money here in the state and helping those in need first and foremost instead of anyone else. So if the federal government has a problem with that, then we'll deal with it when the time comes. But secession won't be off the table with me. My goal as governor will be making sure that I'm changing the living conditions of the people here first and foremost, so they can see how California independence, benefits them the most. And if it boils down to us again having to make a separation between our state and the United States, then we'll declare ourselves the nation state that we are.
Sure. And let's be clear, they're already trying to do some of this shit. One of the things I said today on Twitter was that this new gun grab that Biden is doing is the second attempt this year at trying to cause a civil war. And one of the things that, because they know they are not that stupid. Yes, government sucks. And yes, there is a lot of overarching, they're dumb, but there's a lot of smart people that work in government. They know that if they go after people's guns, they're going to have a problem, especially in middle America. This is going to be another attempt, because they tried to do it when Trump left. They were trying to get people to get all the civil war out. What I think California will be able to do, if they are successful at least a fake civil war attempt, is California will be able to say, you know what? I'm not participating. You think yourself, I'm going over here. And I think that is where the future lies for a lot of independence movements. And I don't mean just like a state seceding. I'm talking about independence down to the individual. Again, I think the trend is going towards localization. And I think they may overplay their hand. And I think California is pretty uniquely positioned to be able to say, you know what, y'all are fighting, I'm not playing. California is kind of like the teenage son that's 17 years old, mom and dad getting a brawl in the living room, and he says, you know what, I'm not playing this game. And he goes to his buddy's house. And I think that's really the position that California finds themselves in. And obviously I support that. So that being said, the gun community in California is abysmal. How do you improve that?
By repealing the gun laws here in the state. And that's what I said is, as governor, I will be immediately nullifying any and all unconstitutional gun laws. You know how they say, what are you going to do in your first 100 days? Well, I plan on achieving that first 100 days in just one day. My first day in office, I will be signing a series of repeals and nullifications into law, maybe even a few executive orders. We'll see. But it'll all be based on, again, reducing the amount of the size of government and its involvement in our day-to-day lives, and protecting us from national policies like them wanting to disarm the people of California. We need to make sure that we, again, are able to protect ourselves and are armed to the teeth. I mean, we're the West Coast, so we are on the border. We want to make sure that we're protecting our borders from any foreign threat, as well as any domestic threat as well. You have a lot of domestic terrorist groups now popping up and posing a threat in our communities. So best way to make sure that the people of California are able to protect themselves are making sure that they don't need a license or a permit or an approval from government to do so.
Or a waiting period or some other bullshit where it's like,
right.
Or somebody threatened me yesterday. Y'all won't do anything about it. And so I just got to wait. I got to wait 3 days. I got to wait a week.
Yeah.
Out of here.
Or if you're a medicinal marijuana patient in California, you can't purchase.
Question from Daryl. Do you know about the lawsuits between California and Polymer 80?
I'm not too familiar with it. I believe it has to do with like a gun fabrication company, like 3D printed guns or something like that. But it's stupid. You know? Anytime the government wants to come in and sue you for doing something, exercising a natural right, there's a problem there. And that's what I'm saying with regards to criminal justice reform. This would be complete reform of the law system in general, not only the way that law enforcement officers are doing their job, but the laws that they're enforcing. You know, the best way to make a police officer's job easier is take away some of the stupid laws that they have to enforce. You know,
forced interactions that are not necessary. Yeah,
exactly. If I want to drive around town with no seatbelt, whose life does that threaten? You know, who does that?
A policeman on a motorcycle who will give you a ticket. That's
exactly right. It doesn't harm anybody. If I want to smoke marijuana, or if I want to, you know, purchase a gun to protect my family, whether it be from a gun shop or, you know, an independent seller, that should be my prerogative. And that's the way business should be done in California, to where private business should be between the purchaser and the person doing the selling. And that would be applicable to sex work as well. You know, there shouldn't be any sex work laws in California, and removal of that would make police officers' jobs easier, to where now they can actually focus on the people that are doing human trafficking and forcing people into sex work against their will. So people need to realize that more freedom actually creates a safer environment for we the people.
Well, not only that, but just like the prohibition, organized crime rings that rose up out of that.
Exactly.
And the same thing that's happened with the drug war. You make it to where the sex work thing becomes decriminalized. Now you don't have this, because what happens most of the time is innocent people end up getting caught, whether it's like drug mules or the little kids with the shit on, you know, in their backpack or whatever at the corner, because they're trying to keep the cops off the scent. so they send a kid or a woman to do it or something like that. The same thing happens with this, where you have, when you make it to where the market is allowed to do what the market wants to do, then there's not as much of that premium, which then leads to, well, shit, man, it's so expensive. I'm gonna have to like, I can't recruit people, so I'm gonna have to just go and scoop people up. And then there's also, I mean, a lot of it. We've talked to Eliza Blue, who's a survivor and a survivor advocate of human trafficking, and to hear her talk about it, this was something I was unaware of until she talked about it, that it's not as likely for it to be a kidnapping or anything like that. A lot of this is like long grooming processes where people are taking their time and making someone feel comfortable, and then at that point it's too late, and they feel there's attachments and things like that come with it too. I don't want to speak too much about it, because my knowledge of it is very cursory, but I think it's born out of that, when the government is involved and you have all this over policing, it creates these shoved underground darker markets that wouldn't exist if this was more out in the open, where sunlight can disinfect it.
Right. I think the alcohol prohibition is a perfect example of that. I mean, look at what happened as soon as it was legalized. Then the criminal market went away, and the same thing happens with the with the marijuana market, with making it recreational, you know, or decriminalization altogether. Now you're taking away the black market for drugs, and are making it safer for consumers, you know?
Sure. Well, I think that every market can show that. The thing is that this isn't without data. You can see the data everywhere. I mean, just straight up THC cannabis is illegal in Indiana. But the CBD market, I can walk in and be like, I'll take that kind. What's that kind do? Oh, it does this. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. You know, and if it was a sex work, you could go in and be like, I'll have 2 Asians, a black girl, and a white girl, and that'll do me for the week. You know, and oh my God. So
you're being racist.
I know. Hey, I got a white girl in there too. I like to get them whites. I promise. But
oh my God.
But
that's 2 weeks in a row, Marcus.
I know.
I'm coming for you again.
I'm on a roll. But at the end of the day, that is what the absolute data shows. The more you inject competition in any market. And again, this goes back to Adam Smith. You go back to the foundation of capitalism. He showed in his treatise, he showed that the people who were more moral and more ethical were the people who allowed for competition and allowed for people to compete. And a lot of people want to say that the government can add and they'll protect. The only thing the government ever does is add violence. Nothing is made better by adding violence to the equation. Nothing.
Yeah, and it's by threat of violence that these supposed good ideas are being imposed on the rest of us. You know what I mean? So if it was really a keen idea where we all were happy about it and embraced it and we're excited about it, then it shouldn't come through the threat of violence that if we comply, that we will be harmed in some sort of a way, whether it be financially or physically. And that's the threat we actually all face if we supposedly break one of these rules by our authoritarians. And that's exactly what they are. We got to start calling
for what they are.
They are. These are authoritarians because you got 4 grown men right here. If I told you all that you needed to respect me, and pay me a portion of your money, you'd be like, what the fuck are you, man?
Right. On what grounds? What am I going to get for it? And I, God damn it, I'm going to hold you accountable to that. No, but it's funny how. So to this idea of like the black market and then how some of the, it's really funny to me. I overheard a conversation at work this week where these people were talking about somebody driving like 4 hours away, but to pay $500 to jump the line to get this shot that some people want to get in line for. And I'm just like, I mean, look, knock yourself out, whatever. I started thinking, I was like, man, I wonder if I could make some money. Like my wife's a teacher. Like she's like, further along the line, maybe we could sell her ticket or whatever to get it. Like she's not getting it. She don't want it. I don't want it. But the thing is, then you get hemmed up. You get caught doing that stuff. Then it's like, hey, what are you doing? So it's like, well, what fucking difference does it make to you? Somebody took the shot, right? Like that's what y'all are trying to do. Y'all trying to mobilize sticking needles in people's arms. What difference does it make to you? Who gets it? If I gave up my spot in line for $500, why does it matter to you? But anyway, it's just funny that's where this stuff is. That when you create these, instead of it being like a first come first serve, now they have this. Well, it's limited supply. So first of all, we want everybody to have it. Everybody's got to get it, but we don't have enough for everybody to get it. And the people who really, really want it can't even buy their pass from somebody who doesn't want it to get it faster.
That's why free market solutions would be the best option, and not only now with this pandemic, but just all together. Making it to where more suppliers are able to provide the products directly to consumers. It doesn't have to be FDA approved. A lot of people assume that just because it's been approved by the FDA that it's a great product. There are FDA products recalled every year, hundreds, believe it or not, that are recalled every year. So the FDA.
Vioxx.
Hey, here we go. But even with the vaccine, you wouldn't be forced to just choose between the ones that are being offered right now. There would be other vaccine providers.
Or there would be other possible remedies that would be okay that you wouldn't get banned off of YouTube for talking about.
Like not bitching about a sniffle.
Right.
Not bitching about a sniffle is your first.
But even if right. But even if you believe in all the level and degree to which this has been, we've been told to be afraid of it. Just the mention of the letters H and C and Q about 6 months ago would have gotten you thrown in Facebook jail, Twitter jail, and YouTube jail. And now the FDA says it's okay, and the CDC says it's okay, and it actually might be good. The idea of like having all these different possible options and then letting people decide for themselves is just like beyond people. And then people think they're like, it's your responsibility to do something you don't want to do, so they can go out and do stuff that they want to do.
Right. It's funny.
But you don't get to say like, no, look, I'm just going to keep living my life, and if you don't feel safe, you don't have to go do the stuff, like, but you don't get to tell me stay home because you don't feel safe.
Yeah. I just had a debate last weekend, and I actually said that, I was asked, or one of the questions asked was, what would you do different than this current governor about the pandemic? And I said, make more products available to the public. Not only a vaccine, hydroxychloroquine or UV ray treatment. I even heard about
ivermectin and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, an inhaler right now has been developed by a doctor over in Israel to help treat.
I heard about that. The nasal spray deal or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So why aren't the public being given the opportunity to take advantage of all of these different methods of treatment? It's because they're in the pockets of big pharma. Newsom right now is going around parading around the state to pressure people into getting this virus. And he's touting about how over 100 million doses have been given out so far, and more to come. It's like, you want to make sure every person in the state of California has received a vaccine, and the teachers in Los Angeles right now are suing the school district because it's law in California to where in order for you to work in school or go to school, you must be vaccinated. And now they're including this experimental vaccine for coronavirus. Because it is still just in the trial period, people. It's not an approved vaccine, so it's in the experimental stage. The government officials don't want to tell you the truth, but that's just the fact of the matter. So if you choose to put this into your body, just know that you are being experimented on, and all of the facts aren't being provided to the public. They aren't being told that even if they take the vaccine, you could still contract coronavirus and die. And what's the point of you having to go through that if it's not providing you with any sort of comfort or relief at all? It's just so you can gain approval from the government, so you can go on about a society, like you said, get this vaccine passport so you can fly or attend a concert, or now even just meet with family and friends. Right. He came out and said, if you had second vaccination, now you can meet with friends and family, and not wear a mask. Well,
like they must not know me. I've been doing that shit all along.
Exactly. I got news though. Man. Hey, don't worry though. These little vaccine passes and whatnot, don't worry. They'll go ahead and get you a little tattoo on your hand soon, and I believe it'll have 3 numbers on it. And
stop, man. Just stop.
And you can just go on. Just 3 numbers.
Libre TV, where we will still have a show. All right, so let me
don't talk about
that, this chat is
blowing up with questions.
I have one more. I'm going to ask Corey's question in just a second, but first I have to just read this thing. He paid $10 for me to say this. I'm going to read it. Shout out to Chester again. Chester is begging to make sure that we know that he's not racist. He says, I am not racist, and I am happy that he knows his father. Oh my God. Most of my black look, I don't write this shit. I just read it. I take a picture of it so I can prove that I didn't make this shit up. I'm reading what somebody paid $10 for me to read. It says most of my black friends don't know their fathers. I also voted for Kamala Harris. He said I also voted for Kamala Harris and dated 3 black women in college. Oh my God, I hate this. I feel like I'm being tortured right now, but it ends funny though, so I'll give it that much. He says my tax dollars go towards welfare and Section 8, and plenty of black people get that. Jesus Christ. Hashtag totally not racist. Hashtag this is the kicker. So these last 2 hashtags are great. Hashtag Blue Lives Matter. Hashtag defund the police. So
what?
Clearly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, we have a troll on this.
It says I'm not racist. So, anyway, with that, I have to ask this. A few people have asked this. Rita asked this, and Corey asked this as well because Corey, I'll let you know a little bit about Corey Frazier. He's one of our friends, G. Frage. He's over at Libre TV with the Brown Paper Bag podcast, the Purple Pill Politics podcast. That would actually be a really good place for you to go. If they're interested in doing an interview there, that would be a great place for you to go. It's like they'll talk about whatever, go into any different little rabbit hole about the fuckery that has been going on since the beginning of time in this country and all over the world. But Corey's story is really cool. He comes from he got caught up and ended up spending, I think it was 17 years. Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, 17 years in prison. And so he is, he's very concerned with the rights of felons who have served their time. If I served my time and I completed everything, like you said, this is what I have to do to get my rights. But why don't the gun rights get restored? Someone who has paid their debt to society, so to speak. What is your take on that? On the gun rights, the Second Amendment rights of convicted felons? Yeah, he said 17. That is correct.
They should never have been taken away to begin with. I mean, like I said, when it boils down to human rights, just you having God-given right to protect yourself, no man should be able to take that away from you. And unfortunately, that's what our law system has done, is it's assumed that authority to be able to strip that natural right away from us as human beings. That should never be the case. And excuse me, for anybody that was convicted of a felony and has served their time and are looking to sort of clean their record, California is doing its best to correct its ways. Just recently, there was a proposition on the ballot to restore voting rights to felons. And it would be for anyone that isn't on probation or parole or doesn't have any pending charges. Now they are able to vote. So that's great, but your right to vote shouldn't have never been taken away from you to begin with either. So
rights can't be taken away.
Exactly. And
they can't be given either. That's the thing. They just are. It's like when somebody told
should be
it's like when you go to a restaurant in the South and you order breakfast, you just get grits. That's it. You just get grits. That you don't. Nobody takes your grits away, and nobody has to give you grits. They just come with the meal. It's just that's it. So your rights are like in the South anyway. They just come.
Right. That's how it needs to be, man. And they shouldn't be limited by government officials simply because they're having a bad day. I actually just experienced this myself when I was charged for contempt of court for recording.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You recorded yourself.
I recorded myself in court, a public place, and was charged with contempt of court. because they told me put your cell phone away and stop recording, and I refused to do so because I let them know.
In the first place, like I put my phone right there and just
like, right. Well, I let them know, hey, I have the constitutional right to freedom of press, and the Sixth Amendment said this should be a speedy and public trial. And in traffic cases in California, there is no court recorder present. So everything that happens in traffic court is off the record, which, brings in hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the state each year. So why is all of this happening in secrecy? I chose to record it to show why, and they didn't like that. So I put the videos on YouTube. They went viral, and I ended up getting charged with contempt of court because of that. So I was recently found guilty of that, believe it or not, by a judge who, while he was on the stand, said to the jury and on the record that this has nothing to do with constitutional rights. This has everything to do with court authority and Mr. Wildstar breaking court rules. Okay, rules are not laws.
Wow.
You broke protocol, and that's it. That's like,
here's the kicker for you.
So what were they saying? What were you facing? Or are you still, I guess you still maybe, I don't want to get you in any kind of trouble or anything like that with it, but
I was facing 6 years, believe
6
it or
years?
not.
Yeah, that's okay. God
a year per charge. I was charged with 6 counts of contempt, each with a maximum penalty for a year. Thankfully, I wasn't sentenced to that maximum. I was just recently sentenced and given 40 hours community service. 30 days in jail, which has been stayed if I can complete 1 year of informal probation, which is basically just stay out of trouble, for the next year. And I will have an extra 30 days tacked on to my sentencing. And they also charged me $570. So I had to do all of this just to, again, or as penalization for me exercising a constitutionally protected right.
You like living in California? Shit.
don't act like you live in Chicago, Nico. What the fuck? It's just as bad, if not worse there.
I don't start no shit. I be in my business, minding my business, reading my books, Mr. Corey.
Oh yeah, shit. Corey was going in on you about the books.
I forgot to say. So the kicker to all of this is, I'm being prosecuted for recording in court. Well, my trial was broadcast live on YouTube.
Of course it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Because they can make money, but you can't.
Oh
Right,
my God.
They can make it public. I cannot. I didn't get permission. But Rita is right. If a person does have a felony, they aren't able to pass a background check and get a job. That definitely is not fair. We will be stopping that practice here in California, where you won't be able to discriminate against someone because of their criminal history and their criminal background. Matter of fact, just remove them being able to ask that altogether. And, hopefully we shouldn't have that problem. But expungement should also be part of the judicial process. It is not. Just like with me, I've had charges that have been dismissed. It's still on my record. I have to go through the expungement process just to have it removed. And even with these current charges, I'm fighting to appeal it right now. So the people of California will never have to deal with this again. So if you want to help me with that effort, please make a contribution to my GoFundMe, Free WIldstar on GoFundMe. But I'm appealing this. So if I were to win, I would still have to go through the expungement process just to have it removed from my record.
Oh my God.
That's nonsense.
It's like the cheese touch from fucking anybody. My kids read all the Diary of a Wimpy Kid shit. They give me the cheese touch. Oh shit. All right. So are we doing this, Marcus?
Oh yeah. And you get to start it this week, man.
I think what's that?
I'm telling him to close his eyes. So
okay. Yeah, so if anybody in the audience has any history with seizures or anything like that,
then look directly at the center
this is
of
time
the
to avert your eyes. But it is now time. I don't think this is gonna last very long, but we're gonna do it anyway because it is a segment. It is time to take Mr. Nickolas Wildstar into the Aquarian Anarchy Indoctrination Chamber.
Uh-oh.
I feel like I have to make some kind of noise.
Yeah, it's slow.
So I'll start it off. Okay, so Mr. Wildstar.
Yes.
So you're running for governor. So let me try to figure out a good way to start this thing off. So what is the best thing that a governor can do for the people?
That's a good question. Get out of the way. Get government out of the way. The best way to make the people of California happier is by improving living conditions. And that not only includes the cost of rent and, goods and services, whether it be food or utilities, but also the services that are being provided to them by the government. We talked about police services, protection service. That should be of a golden standard to where it's being appreciated by members of the community, opposed to being damned, being looked at as being a nuisance and a threat more than anything. We have gangs in our law enforcement agencies out here in California, gangs that have infiltrated sheriff's departments, police departments, and they need to be purged. So the people of California need to feel safe by those providers of protection in their community. Of course, with taxes, we can, eliminate these taxes to where the average California doesn't feel like they're being nickeled and dimed just to live in the state. Some of these larger corporations, as well as the small ones, they want to hire more people. They want to expand, but the costs are too damn high. Whether it's them having to pay new employees $15, since that's the minimum wage here in California, a forced minimum wage, or them having to pay a certain amount of money in taxes just so they could operate their business. So I'll be eliminating those business license fees. I'll be eliminating business taxes altogether, so we can join other states in the union that enjoy those types of benefits, and eliminate those individual taxes on income and property and excise taxes for utility, so they can again live in a environment to where they feel like they're more financially prosperous than they would if they were in any other states, whether it Massachusetts or Texas or Nevada even. California should be a live-free state also, since this is still America. So we need to make sure that our policies here in the state are reflecting that, and that's what I'll be doing as governor.
Marcus?
All right, so I'm going to dig in a little bit. So you've mentioned a couple of times that one of the duties, if you will, of government is for protection. I have a very simple question. When has a centralized government ever protected anybody from anything?
That's actually a good point to make.
I kind of set you up a little bit, but you started off great, and then you just I was like, oh, Marcus is going to get in his ass now.
Yes, the biggest confusion is that
clip that one too, Stall.
To emergency services, that government is supposed to be there to protect them. You are your first line of defense, period. So with the example I brought up earlier about a home invasion, the police are going to be second responders. They're going to be responding to you and your call to action in that moment. So what government can do to make sure that you're able to protect yourself is give you all the means to do so. Having constricting gun laws in the state is not aiding in that effort. Any type of weapons laws in this state aren't aiding in that effort. In the state of California, having a collapsible baton is a felony, believe it or not. So why would me as an individual be charged and treated as a criminal for protecting myself? That should definitely be a contradictory that we're staying away from. So
they want y'all to get snatched.
Pretty much.
So to be clear, your answer was it can't, right?
It can't. What I'll be doing is make sure the government is able to protect you in the way that it can, like through the legal system. You know, if you want to make sure that you have legal protections, then that's where the government comes into play. If you want to make sure that you have protections or your rights as an individual as a protected are protected, that's where government can come into play. So, but when it comes to, again, life-threatening moments, government pretty much can't do anything except for respond to you in that time of need. And I believe, if anything, a free market option would work better opposed to a more centralized one, to where you have more people to call in a situation, in an emergency, opposed to just one.
Cool.
Okay.
Nico, you got something?
Yeah. We'll work on it. So, as future governor, because you got to put it out there.
Yes, indeed.
What would your relationship be with federal government through state if California don't dip out?
I believe I'll be a thorn in their side, because there are a lot of policies being proposed by the federal government, especially this administration and the last, that if I were governor, I would definitely be refuting. I would be refuting right now any proposal by the federal government to restrict any gun purchases or usage in the state. I would be refuting them on any mandates on masks or vaccinations or any requirements for them to obtain that in order for them to just work and provide a living for themselves. So if they're going to be imposing these regulations and rules on the people of California, I, as governor, have to make sure that I'm making a stand on their behalf. Excuse me, I'll probably be in the likes of, the governor of Texas or Florida or any of those seemingly rebellious states right now that are refusing to go along with the federal government's laws. So I see myself as being one of those individuals where I elected governor.
Okay.
I agree with Natasha.
Yes, I do too. Serve no purpose. They're pretty much just like what Chad was saying, that overbearing adult that wants to dictate what you can do with your own body. And even though you're an adult now, you're like, hey, I pay my own bills. I have my own house. I have my own family. I have my own everything. Why are you telling me what I can and cannot do? And that's exactly what the federal government does, is dictate to us as adults what we can and cannot do. That should not be allowed in a free country, and especially one where we should be sovereign individuals.
Well, I would argue that where they've been successful is with their friends in the corporations and in the media, the corporate media, is they have turned the overwhelming majority of the country and the world, for that matter, into very comfortable millennial teenagers who don't want to move out of the house and want to have their parents have them in their house until they're 30 and pay their insurance until they're 26 and all this other kind of stuff. That's how we get all these laws. It's like we are engendering this generation of kids that are coming up, and I'm doing everything I can to raise mine to be different from that. But unfortunately, it's been a very solid effort on their part to make everyone comfortable in not being that rebellious teenager. What they've created is the teenager who wants their freedom and all that stuff. You can't tell me what to do. I'm 18, except I'm going to live here until I'm 30. And you have to pay all my
Right.
bills. And shut up, mom, you're talking too loud. Bring me more Cheetos. That's what they are engendering.
Yes, it's a coddling, and
Sure.
it started with this generation, to where we've been kind of conditioned to believe that the government should be there to support us and prop us up and make sure that we have all of those provisions that we need in life. You can see what, maybe people that are older, that they have more of a hesitance and, giving complete autonomy to the government. We've lost that, where we stopped looking at ourselves as autonomous beings, and instead just people that are being dictated to by, an overbearing government. Like you said, that parent that wants to still tell us what to do. And since we're the 30-year-old living in their basement, we're just going along with it. That mindset needs to stop, but it starts first with responsibility. That's what you're teaching your kids, I'm sure, and that's what I'm going to teach my son and my future children, is you have to be responsible for your own actions. I'm not going to be responsible for them. Your mother isn't. Don't expect any stranger to be. You have to be. And a lot of these life lessons have been lost culturally, societally, to where now we as individuals, we're more so just dependent upon figures in government to provide that structure for us. That needs to stop. So as governor, as a libertarian leaning, governor of California, I'll be making sure personal responsibility is first and foremost.
Great. So I think we should go one more round, even though I think I'm smelling the anarch, man. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. But I do think we should go one more round. And I want to start with this should be a softball question. So we'll start it easy. What percentage of you is owned by the government?
0. Let me just answer that straight up. I mean, one reason why my wife doesn't like me to drive is because I exercise my right to travel. Period. If I get pulled over by a police officer operating, my own carriage, traveling freely in my own vehicle, then I will be arguing constitutionality with any Gestapo agency that chooses to prohibit me from exercising my right to travel. So I don't carry a driver's license. I don't have plates on my car, and in the business I own as an individual, I do so on my own. I don't have a business license. I'm not seeking one. And me as an individual, I again educate as many people as possible about individual sovereignty. I think that's what has been lost the most when it comes to the identity of the American. Is who is that? We need to recognize first, we live in a sovereign nation and we are sovereign beings. There is no authority over us other than the one we put there. So if you want to be compliant to a government official, you are choosing to be subjected to their authority. If I say as an individual, there is no authority above me other than God Almighty himself, then man or any government official can assume that role. And if they attempt to do so, then they're going to have a fight on their hands, because I'm always going to look at myself as a free person. And you would think any person in America would embrace that ideology, but you still have sympathizers of, centralized control and authoritarianism, which is why we're in this case to begin with. So it's up to us rebellious individuals to start acting on our free man, statehood, if you want to call it that, to make sure that we're defending our rights and liberties.
For sure.
Bars.
To quote, right. For sure.
He is a rapper. Look at
I
that.
I know.
He just
right.
Oh,
I got to quote.
No,
I got to quote.
Great. That was great.
Right. To finish that up, man, I got to quote our buddy who's in the chat, Hotep Daryl, make America rebel again. It is time.
Yeah. Shout out to Hotep Daryl. Yes.
So
can we release him? Can we release him from the chamber?
I think we have an anarch, guys. Do we have an anarch?
Yes.
We have an anarch.
I think we knew we did. We knew we did beforehand, but we'll go ahead and do the outro anyway. All right, everybody.
You don't gotta give everybody a seizure every time.
All right, I'll get it. I promise I'll have one next week where it won't be the spiral. So, Dutch posted a 1 in the chat. That means yes, you have succeeded. All right, so I have to do this though. Because Chester donated another $10. So now
keep him coming.
I'm starting to think. I don't know who Chester is. I don't know who Juanita is. It may or may not be the same person. I don't know because the questioning was very similar. I don't care either. The money is good. Bring it in. Keep it coming. I think it may or I'm suspicious that it might be John Limley. I don't know. This sounds like his kind, but I don't think so. But we'll just see. Anyway, this one says for $10 again. Will you force the people of California to follow the science and take the safe and approved vaccine? We need to protect each other. # take the shot. Bro. So I think because of the language, like I have to think that like this is definitely like some high level trolling. Yeah.
There will be no forced vaccinations in the state of California. There will be no mandates on anything such as that. I don't think people should be forcefully or be forced to vaccinate themselves. I don't think they should be forced to obtain insurance. I don't think they should be forced to pay any certain fees just to earn a living for themselves. It's just absurd. I mean, the government that we have is backwards and antithetical to libertarianism and freedom and justice for all. If you talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and those words that are in our, document, that created this country, what is reflective about our government today that, exemplifies that? Hardly anything. You know what I mean? So if we want to get back to making sure that we have a government that's reflecting those words, then we got to make sure that we have sworn officials that are upholding their oath. And that's what I'll be doing, is making sure that I'm not acting outside of my constitutional oath or constitutional authority as governor.
Nice. It'd be a definite step in the right direction, if nothing else. One of the things I've said, and we're probably needing to move towards closing down, guys. But one of the things that we look to do with this particular podcast is bring people together. You talked earlier about some of these unification kind of ideas. Bringing people together is definitely going to be our way forward. And one of the things that I've said is that I want no government. I don't believe in government. I'm an anarch. I don't believe in it. I don't think that it's real. I think it is nothing more than force and violence, and that is what it is. But if we can meet at the Constitution, that's a hell of a good place to start.
Right.
If we can
here.
Right.
And there is
the Constitution
no
is still full of some fuckery, but
right.
At least it's a lot less than what we have right now.
Right.
So, like Margaret said, it's stepping in the right direction in a big way.
Yeah. Right now we have a government that is acting outside of the rule book. I just want to make sure that we stay compliant to those rules, period. And it's a matter of making sure that we're holding our government officials accountable. But how are we going to be able to do that when they're acting, they're acting wildly without recourse? So best way to rule them in is get in a governor like me.
So let me, if I may, bring a sports analogy in to kind of give you my feel for like how I think this whole thing. I gave my millennial living in the basement analogy before. This is a different way that I like to look at it. So I think this rule book, much like the rule book of the NFL, is a tool of manipulation to rig the system, to rig games in a certain direction. Every time you come up with every time there's a new rule that they put in place, like the CTE stuff, where they started, regulating like hits to the head, and they started doing the stuff with protecting the quarterback. Have you ever noticed how like oh shit, Nico just dipped. Come back, Nico. Where did he go? All right.
Just continue. He'll come back.
Okay.
I'll let him in.
Big brother got him.
He might have just had to go. Nico. Oh no, he's back. All right. So let me. All right. So real quick. Whoops. Slide you over. No, you're good.
Okay.
So you start. Have you ever noticed how these rules are it seems like they're kind of arbitrarily enforced, and it seems like Tom Brady gets a certain treatment. Michael Jordan got a certain treatment. Peyton Manning got a certain treatment that, Andy Dalton or Cam Newton or Deshaun Watson or Johnny Manziel or whoever, doesn't quite get that same level of treatment. And I just think that some of this stuff is those rules are they capitalize on. First of all, the NFL, what they did was they made those hits that paralyzed people and put people on the path to the CTE side effects. They put that stuff front and center. They marketed that shit. And then they used it as an excuse to make some rules that they could manipulate the outcomes of games with after they used it to advertise the league. So I think in the same way, government will do these things where you have some of these agent provocateurs, and you have these little things, this messaging and this marketing and this little nudge in one direction, nudge in another direction, where they kind of channel us like cattle, in the direction they want us to go. And then when some idiot acts up, then they come down with the hammer, and now all of a sudden they've got the solution to the problem that they created.
Right.
And the solution to the problem that they created only affects the people who don't already have a bunch of money and a bunch of power. Isn't that amazing how that shit works out? Yeah. So that's my little metaphor for I say, I understand, I get where you're coming from, and you're running for governor, so I get that you have to say things a certain way, but I say burn the fucking rule book.
I'm with you on that
rule book.
What I'm doing, I get the rule book right now is this fucking big.
Yeah.
I just want to get it down to the 5-pager. It's supposed to be.
Right.
That way we can
a touchdown is 6 points, an extra point is 1 point, that kind of shit.
I mean, that way we can see how just the basic rules benefits us. And if the basic rules still have some application and some need, then why not leave them be? But if we see how just the minimum rules are still causing an imposition, are still causing barriers from people from being able to be as prosperous as they can be, then it needs to be reduced further. That's the problem to begin with, is that, we have a government that had a rule book this small, but it expanded it drastically. And now it has all of these arbitrary laws that we don't even know what's what anymore. So just getting back to the basics is going to be beneficial to the people of California. And that's what I plan on doing first and foremost, is just minimizing government, limiting it to its ability, to its constitutional authority. And then, as I said, seeing from there how much more fat we can trim from there.
Sure.
All right, what Nico? It looked like you wanted to say something before I started my sports diatribe.
Yeah, I was going to say in a parallel universe, because we don't want to speak it into this universe. If you weren't governor, what would you do to continue to help people in the sense?
I love the way Nico thinks.
You feel me? We
That's
can't
good.
put it in definite, but what would you do, and what would you do to continue? This sucks. To continue to help people.
Right. Well, in the alternate universe, I'm a rap superstar, so a rap superstar.
Hey, there we go. All right, I love it.
Is a philanthropist, humanitarian, and basically lives on a meager, income. Because to me, I feel like as long as I got my bases covered, I got food on my table and a roof over my head, I'm good. I don't need to have 20 cars in the driveway. I don't, wear Louis Vuitton or jewelry or none of that stuff. So I'm not the flashy type of person. My lifestyle reflects the type of person that I am. And that's one that is more humble, and I'll always be that type of person. Even if I was a rich superstar celebrity rap artist, I would be that. And I would be, like I said, making sure that I could help out the community with the amount of money that I'm able to earn, or use my superstardom to make sure that I'm able to improve the living conditions of people that aren't able to be heard altogether. I think that's what encouraged me to be a musician to begin with, and not selling out to become this mainstream superstar that I could have been. I could have signed with major labels. I decided to go the independent route. Why? Because I wanted to stay true and authentic to who I was and the words that I was saying, instead of them being manufactured for me by an establishment and a system that wants a particular message to get out there.
Amen.
I love it.
So I want to say, Nickolas Wildstar is running for governor. If you guys are in California, vote for his ass. Vote for him. Vote
for his whole body.
Right. Vote for the whole thing. I am.
Don't drop the ball this time.
Right.
You could have had Wildstar for governor right now.
That's right.
2 years. Get Wildstar in there, and until 2022, I assure you will experience the best time you've ever had in California.
Sure.
There we go.
And his social media links are below. Is there anything else you'd like to plug today?
Yes, visit my website, WIldstar2022.com. That's my official campaign website. Please visit it today. Bookmark it. Share with others on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, right here, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. So please connect with me on social media. I'm also on YouTube. So subscribe to my channel. Make sure you get notifications about up-and-coming videos. And please join my campaign. I'm a grassroots candidate, and I need all the help that I can get. So it's all hands on deck for a true revolution for we the people out here in California, one that's not being funded by big banks and big pharma and special interests. None of that matters other than the voice and concerns of the people of California. And that's what I want to do with my campaign. So please visit my website, WIldstar2022.com today, and join Team Wildstar so we can bring back liberty to California.
There we go. Love it. Hey, Marcus, if you send those links to Marcus if they're not already in, because I don't think all of that's in the description.
No, it's not.
We'll get like your Patreon, your GoFundMe as well, for your case and all that stuff. We'll get all that stuff in there and add it to the description if it's not already there, and we'll go from there. I have to do this. We have one more $5 chat from Chester. Shout out to Chester. Chester, right. We are balling tonight with Chester. Like we are paying off all kind of bills just on Chester's dime. So, but I have bad news for you, Chester. Chester says, I'm donating to change the name of this show to a QAnon Anarchy. So it is not going to be changed. It is still going to be Aquarian Anarchy. So thank you for the money, but no thanks. We are not changing the name. And that's it. That's so anyway, with that, we very much appreciate you coming on, and we remind everybody to go check out Mr. Wildstar's campaign. Check out his links that are going to be. Some of them are already there. Check those out, but then also we'll be posting some later. So come back and check the chat after the archived version goes up, and because we want to promote his campaign and promote the efforts that he's making. You heard him talk. You heard the stuff that he's about, and we appreciate.
He's
that.
One of us, people.
He's one of us. He's an anarch. You heard that he had that anarch energy flowing when he was talking about how he rolls out on the streets. Sure. So don't forget to like our show as well. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and get the notifications. Hit the little bell icon so you can get the notifications. Share it. Share our Libre version as well. So that we can get some more traffic to Libre TV. Shout out to Saul G and Corey in the building. And then finally, go to our Patreon and to our store and buy some merch. You can get this shirt, the I Vetoed shirt. It's for all those people who put the I voted buttons on. I vetoed. I either don't vote or I vote for somebody who probably doesn't have a chance at winning. But it's just my middle finger to the man to say I'm not voting for that shit. So yes, so we appreciate everybody coming in. We love all our patrons who are already patrons, but if you aren't already, go to the Patreon and join. We have a killer chat in there, thanks to folks like Halima and Tim and Daryl, and I know I'm missing somebody. Shit.
That's the primary players.
I think that's the primary folks who are in their chat and everything. But anyway, Nickolas, man, huge thanks. Really appreciate you coming on. For sure. I hope you had as much fun time as we did.
Right.
Wonderful time. Thank you for having me, and look forward to coming on again.
Awesome. We'll set it up at the same time. All right. Thanks a lot. Stay free, my friends.
Peace.